So John, if I bet you $450 to potentially save yourself tens of thousands of dollars, would you do it?
Oh, definitely I'd take that bet.
That is exactly what we do here at the K Grant Group. We ask all of our new home buyer clients to invest in a home inspection to potentially save themselves tens of thousands of dollars.
Not just save the money, it saves a lot of potential headaches as well.
So that brings up an interesting question, and one that I always like hearing about. Can you give me an example of something you found maybe at the point you did your sewer scope inspection on the new home build that could have cost the client a ton of money, a ton of headache, and you were able to save them?
Sure can. I have a lot of examples I can pull from, but I'm going to pull a very specific example out. We were doing a sewer scope before the people moved in, so I think they were closing in 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
They were doing sort of their final walk at this new build. We do a sewer scope, and about 3 feet from the sidewalk, there's a horizontal piece of rebar going through the sewer line that either happened during the driveway or landscaping. No one could figure out when they were doing it. But if you were just going to the home running water, if I ran every sink for hours, nothing would stop it. It was just one piece, of rebar. But soon as paper and solids started going through food waste, that could start causing a dam. So you may have lived there for weeks before a problem, and all of a sudden you could start having backups. So we saved them beforehand.
So how much does a sewer scope cost on a new home?
They're generally about $250.
$250, and how much does having to replace that sewer line probably cost?
Thousands and thousands. In this case, they even had to remove some concrete in the spot.
Okay.
So there was time that would have been multi thousands of dollars. And that was without the headaches of having your whole shower back up on you.
So $250 is what it costs for a sewer inspection, and it saved that client probably $10,000 to $15,000, not counting the headache that goes along with having to tear up your brand new yard, potentially back up in your brand new bathroom.
Yeah, having it done beforehand, you may not have been delighted and happy, but you're definitely right. It's a lot better than having a water issue in your home.
Talk about a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So I know the other time that we've personally used you guys is that pre-drywall phase, right? You have the new build, they have the studs up, the electric, hopefully the HVAC, the ducts and stuff are done then. What's it cost for that round of inspections?
Yeah, that is a little bit less than the finals. It runs $50 to $100 less than doing the final up on that home.
So we're talking $300-$400 to have you come out and examine everything. Now I know builders a lot of times will say, you don't need to do this inspection because we just got our permit from the city saying the electric's fine.
Right. I
disagree with the builder every time, which is why you should always use a realtor when purchasing a new build. But always also, you should be getting this inspection. So let's do the same thing. Can you tell me about something you found in that pre-drywall that would have been a huge headache for clients had they not?
Yeah, that'd be, that one's actually in some ways easier.
I was gonna say that look on your face has me like, oh gosh, what are we gonna hear?
If anything, I'm trying to think of so many different ones. Finding some of the potential structural issues that we do be able to catch might take years before developing. So there could be some small cracking in trusses, some studs that are just a little too short or a little too long. And the first couple of years in the house may not fully notice because it does take time for that weight of the roof and the house to slowly settle. And what looked like the very, very typical hairline crack, year 4, all of a sudden is something much more major. And to fix the structure in an attic when there's no drywall in the ceiling is so much easier than when they have to remove drywall to get up in there to properly fix it.
I'm sure, and the insulation.
Yeah,
and
you don't have to move any of that, and they get it all done.
Yeah.
One other thing, not super common, but we have found several times, is and I don't know if they're switching subcontractors or something happens, the air conditioning units, the two halves, you have a piece that's outside and you have a piece that's inside. And out here in Arizona, typically in the attic, that inside piece, they don't match. And that means your house may feel cool, but it's not running efficiently.
Oh, no.
You know, and probably not going to last as long and things of that nature.
And the long-term cost of that, you probably don't even notice it, but each of your bills is just a little bit more expensive than it needs to be.
Exactly.
Over the years.
Even if it was only an extra $75 a year, over 10 years, there's $750 you spent for no reason. You know, let alone that you just might have a hot room and not as comfortable.
And again, $300 to $400 is all it costs to have an inspector out there to do that once over, look over before they do the drywall. It's the only time you're going to be able to see behind that drywall. It's something you get to take advantage of as a new home buyer that no one purchasing a resale gets. You buy a resale, you have no idea what's happening behind the drywall.
That's exactly it.
You get to see it.
Right. Everything from how the wiring is behind the walls to something that we find that maybe even wrong, most people never affect. And that's, in some ways, the wiring is, if there isn't the proper safety behind it, when you go to hang your TV into those studs, all of a sudden now that wiring's too close and that has a problem. So it's not every stud that you're hanging a TV on, but we're going through all of them to make sure they're proper distance, there's proper plates or metal, we call them bang plates, that we're able to stop any screws going in or nails from damaging your wiring.
Perfect. So once someone gets that pre-drywall done, the builder goes back in, it's time for them to do all the finishing stuff, right?
Right.
The stuff buyers love to look at, the touchy-feely things. Is it the right countertops and the paint color and the fixtures and all that? But that isn't the only thing a buyer should really be looking at before they move in and they do that final walkthrough with a contractor, right? So when you go in and do that, that happens when? Just 3-4 days before closing, correct?
Yes, it's a little bit up to the builder. Some want it as far as a week beforehand. So one other thing is the builder can make any rules. And so we as a company have the insurance they require for any builder, any of those sort of things like workman's comp, so we're able to come on site. But at that, that 3 or 4 days, a lot of times the clients aren't looking at certain things because that's the exciting part. I've bought new homes too. I'm not even thinking about, is everything working properly?
I have to tell you, my husband and I bought a new build, gosh, it's probably 3-4 weeks ago now is all. It was the best day. You get to go, and the builder gives me this blue tape, and he says, walk around and just put tape anywhere you don't like it. That's all I'm thinking about is, ooh, where's there a nick in the tape? Or something's just not quite lined up, but I want him to come look at it. It's fun because I know anything I mark, they're going to come touch up, but there's so much I don't see during that, right? Like, so much. I mean, I can tell you personally, we ended up with, there was a water leak problem we didn't know about. There was something going on with one of the beams in the attic we didn't know. One of the windows actually had a scratch. I didn't see it as a scratch, right? I thought I was going to lick my thumb and it was like going to come off, no big deal. It was a scratch. They actually replaced the sliding door for us, brand new beforehand, because the inspector saw that, right? The inspector saw that there was a water leak, and it was small, but I wasn't going underneath the kitchen sink and running it to see if after it ran for 10 minutes, is there something there? I mean, thousands of dollars were saved because someone else was there.
I know they put, it feels like it's put on a lot to you as the home buyer with the builder to do that. I will say this, been doing it 25 years. If I was going in, I'd get one of my guys to go do that because at that point, I'm thinking about my home. I'm not thinking about the drip and the other thing. I want to enjoy the home buying process and moving in and putting the blue tape. And so even myself, when I go to, in our whole team, when they're buying, you don't inspect. You bring in one of the other guys because you're supposed to enjoy this time.
Yes.
Let us be the ones to run the sink 10 minutes, look for the drip of water, let's spend the time looking for the scratch on the window.
What's the craziest thing you've ever seen doing that final inspection before closing when you've been out with someone?
Probably the one that probably doesn't seem to most people, but to us, is when they never wired up the stoves right. So if you have an electric stove, you need 220, and so many times, and the clock will work, but your stove won't heat or the oven won't heat. And if it was your first time cooking,
can you imagine how flustered you would be and right off mad?
You would, first 15 minutes would be, do I not know the controls?
Yes.
You would start self-doubting because how can brand new not work? Yeah. The other is sometimes appliances are bad. So we've gone to where the fridges aren't cooling, and it wasn't the electric, it was, you can't make a million of anything and not have some lemons, So of course, even the most high-end Sub-Zero, I'm sure one a year is bad coming off the line. Yep. And it could be your house. And so it's really important to someone really go through, make sure the freezer's cold as it's supposed to be. The refrigerator's where it's supposed to be.
And that's something, right, you wouldn't notice. I'm going to stick my hand in the freezer and say, yep, it's cold. I'm not going to say, are my ice cubes getting as hard as they should be so they don't melt in my water glass or little things like that. Now, one thing I found that I thought was really interesting going through the process of buying a new build and having an inspector out there, as the buyer, I got where I was pretty close with people on the site, right? Because it's hard not to stop by all the time and you want to be excited and happy. And I didn't want to be that nag of a buyer, even though I wanted it perfect, right? It's a new build, but I didn't want to be the bad guy. I wanted to be their favorite buyer they'd ever had. And I was so easy to work with, right? And all this. The nice thing is by having an inspector there, you guys got to be the bad guy for me. I didn't have to be the one nitpicking and saying, are you sure it's supposed to be like this?
Right.
And I found the contractor listened a lot more. I'd point something out and they said, that's not a big deal. Then I get the inspection report. I'm like, really? Because it's 4.6 on here says it's a big deal. And to beat a code, that beam in the garage should have been painted and all those nail holes should have been filled. For me, they could say no because it was cosmetic. The inspector says that's not the code. And all of a sudden, guess what? All those nail holes were magically filled and it was painted the day I got my keys.
So, part of, not just so we get to be the bad guy, we can speak the language usually that's needed to. And even when we talk to clients as a company, we're using the common language, right? We all say an outlet. Well, technically it's a receptacle, right? Believe it or not, your switch and your light above is still an outlet. It's where power comes out. So you'll get sometimes these site supers, and they'll try to play with words with people, and they'll try to do something with the inspector. Oh, that's not really what it is. Well, you really want me to start going into it? Sure. But we're able to speak the language, know exactly what the rules are for it, and without doing it hostility to them. So we can be we can present the bad news without you being the bad guy, and believe it or not, without us most cases, because we're able to talk to them in a way. We're not trying to make them bad, because
it's what you do. It's your profession.
Well, that site super wasn't the one who made it incorrect.
Yeah.
We did a house and one of the outlets not working, and it turned out it physically was the outlet they did, and it wasn't anyone to install it. Just no one went through and tested it.
Yeah.
Same thing though. Those little receptacles. They make millions of those a year. Of course, there's a bad one coming off the line.
Yep.
So, and your house has 100 of them. It's not surprising that there's one bad out of every 20 new homes.
If you're watching this and you're bored this evening, go around your house and count how many receptacles or outlets, as we call them, are in your house. You have no idea how many there is until you need to replace them or something. You guys will be amazed. I thought it's like a 20 type thing. You have that in like 3 rooms.
Right.
It's crazy. So now you guys do the inspection, then right before close, then the buyer gets to celebrate, move in, start enjoying their home. But I know that we personally always have you back out at the 11th month, and we recommend all of our clients have you back out at the 11th month. But can you speak to all the viewers about why is it that we feel so strongly that you need to be there at that point?
Yeah. Well, first, it is very, very important. I will say for the people who didn't do those other 2 inspections, when we go do an 11-month, man, I feel much worse because many people have been living with half their house with no insulation. You know, it is so, it's almost once a month. We probably do 25 or so 11-month warranties every month, and it's probably one a month we find a room or more worth of no insulation in someone's home.
Wow.
It is surprisingly common. So they've been paying all that extra bill. Yeah. Well, if we went and did the other ones, that wouldn't have happened. But there's a lot of wear and tear that happens, you know, up on a home. Just like having that car, that first year is like a bumper-to-bumper warranty. Except for when you backed into a fire hydrant, they're covering everything that's going on with the vehicle, right?
And that's one of the reasons we visit with a lot of our investor clients, a lot of first-time home buyers, a lot of our second home out-of-state buyers, about the fact that new builds are such a great investment for them because they do have that, as you call it, bumper-to-bumper warranty. So if anything goes wrong in that first year, which hopefully it doesn't, but if it does, the builder is still responsible for the majority of it. And that does a lot for the peace of mind and the financial aspect for buyers.
Right. Just the peaceful night's sleep could be worth a lot of money.
Yes.
You know, for people. So, and also knowing if there is a roof leak, which is going to be very rare in a new home, it's not out of your pocket.
Yeah.
The builder's still responsible. Just like if my AC on a brand new car didn't work very well, it may be still a pain in the butt that you got to go take it to the dealer or have someone go fix it, but you know it's not costing you money.
But it's not a drain on your checking account, right? That does a lot for people in their peace of mind, like you said, in their financial freedom and planning to know they can plan, I'm going to spend this money up front. So I can have the new build, I can have the home exactly how I want it. But over the next year, I'm not worried that I'm going to have an $8,000 HVAC or a $15,000 roof to do because that stuff's brand new and it's under warranty.
Right. And not only that, because it's brand new, it's probably it's going to be more efficient compared to, even if I had a crystal ball and can tell you that 10-year-old AC will last another 10, it's not as efficient to an AC today.
Yeah. And so buying a new home has a lot of different nuances than buying a resale home, which is why it's so important that you hire a realtor that specializes in new home sales, as well as an inspection company that specializes in the different inspections that need to happen with a new home sale.
It can really make a difference. And not just the peace of mind that it gives, knowing so many things that I know, even if I explain some of the things, can seem innocuous. You know, hey, these wires shouldn't touch this metal plate, and that's a 10-year from now issue. But getting those fixed really can make a big difference for people.
So if you're considering, even if you're at the beginning phases of considering purchasing a new home, please give us a call. We would love to help. I'm Andrea Lilienfeld with the K Grant Group, powered by my home group out of Arizona.
And I'm John Tyler with Checklist Inspections, local here in Arizona.